What you're saying, it is October and it's time we all celebrating Black History Month. So what does that really mean? I'll explain after this short interval. See you soon. So welcome back. My name's Matt. I'm from Karna Holistics, where we learn together and we grow together in the sight of God. First of all, I want to apologize. I know I haven't released a video in a while. I've been working on my video for the hero's journey, which I said I'll do 12 videos in order to reflect the hero journey, which is Joseph Campbell's theory. And it's been so empowering. I wanted to really share a bit more about that in my next video, because I wanted to really encapsulate what my journey's been like while I've been working and building these videos. And as you see the videos grow, you would see the shift with it. And it's quite interesting because now the video I'm doing today is about in a celebration of Black History Month 2020. So in light of what we've been going through with this whole pandemic and obviously with the virus and this whole conscious awakening, and also with the Black Lives Matters and all the things that are unrest and uneasiness in some ways, and reflection about Black people and the BME community, I wanted to release this video but make it a bit more different than what people have been speaking about when it comes to Black history. And I'll cover that in a minute. But what I wanted to just reflect to say is that we are obviously going through this conscious awakening, and there's been a lot of changes that are going on in the media and in society for us today. So there's been a lot of shifts that we are all being privy to, and then we all are trying to grow. So when it comes from the Black point of view, or being a Black man or being a Black woman, as I say in all my videos that I'm speaking about my interpretation on what I'm feeling, I've seen too much connotations and focus upon Black people from America, which is nothing wrong with that, because obviously Black people out there and we know what it's like over there. But because I'm based in the UK, I wanted to speak about the UK, being a Black man or a Black person in the UK. So when I was watching something the other day when they said that with Black history, when we speak about Black history, we seem to really focus upon people, amazing people like Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, Mary C. Cole, and all those people which have been trailblazers, and also Nelson Mandela, who've been trailblazers for the struggle. But what we haven't really looked at is the UK's expansion of Black culture and the changes and the movements that have been going on in the UK. But I don't really want to focus upon that aspect, but I do want to talk about what it's like being a Black person living in the UK and being quite spiritual. Now, I wanted to come from a spiritual point of view more than the concept of existing. So in some ways, this will be mainly directly addressed to Black people or people in the BME community. But obviously, white people can become self-aware about what this is about. But specifically, this is about me talking about Black people who are developing themselves to become a better type of person within themselves, or awakening within themselves. So for me, as being a Black man living in the UK and being in his 40s, there's been this massive stigma that there's been a lot of suicides in that age bracket from the ages of 30 to 50. Now, this is true. I work with people in mental health and I see it all the time. But what we fail to see is that there's been other aspects of the positives, not just about Black people, not just the dogmatic view of, in a way, slavery or not being able to get jobs or anything like that. Though they're important, I feel more so I want to talk about empowering Black people and you becoming aware of your heritage, your spiritual heritage, days of Egypt, days of living in Persia, days of traveling throughout the lands and developing, days in Africa. All these from a spiritual enrichedness, because we talk about, when we talk about black people, we always talk about the struggle, hear that a lot. When I do hear anything positive, it's about achievements. But and also what they speak about is Africa and they speak about America. But what I wanted to address is the other aspect is about black people are so spiritual in their DNA. It's entangled in the DNA. And I feel sometimes, and this is just my own perception from what I've seen and what I've dealt with, that as a black man and other black people that I've dealt with, just because we're born into sometimes being Catholic or Christian, because that's our parents' generation and what they've been born into, we are really instilled with the idea about the existence of God. But what we as black people need to begin to start doing, which is happening, is having a spiritual movement, a spiritual awakening. And you see many people now doing that. You get many of the talkers talking about empowering, developing, growing, expansion, consciousness shifts of spirit, in touch with our ancestors spiritually. And there has been such a massive change in the movement of spirituality that for black people, that this is more that we need as a black race to really focus upon our own existence within this planet and what we're all about. Now, I'm not telling you have to go out and be some kind of minister or a preacher. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we need to not just be aware that what the color of our skin is, but what we need to understand is what does that color of our skin and all the dogmatic views that people say to us or what we go through, what does it do to our spirits? Because our spirits is the one that our children will inherit those negative traits in some ways or teachings that we put into ourselves. I made it a conscious awareness that when my kids were born, that I know that I was at that time really focused upon learning about my culture, learning about what it is to be a black person or what it is to be the struggle and the empowerment and all the great people that have come before me. But I don't feel we're doing them a good service if we forget about our own spiritual idealism and focus and what's in here, in our spirit, in our DNA. And I think, as you see, let me just go back to the days of slavery. And I don't want to really dwell on black people in that time because that's not what all black people are about. But I wanted to just make a point that when our ancestors were on the cotton fields or in the sugar canes and were slaves, they would always sing spiritual songs to uplift our spirit. And I think as we've grown up, our disconnection with God, I feel, needs to be reestablished back into our own community. And once we get that establishment back in our community, there is a beautiful saying I always live by: if God be before us, who dare be against us? And the other thing is, no weapon will be formed against us if God is leading. So the reality is that as a black person or as a black individual, I was not just developing as an individual person. I was quite aware of what it's like to be a black man, a spiritual black man living in this country or in the UK. So for the fact is that there's been great people that have come before me that have led the development and the consciousness awakening that have been black, that have not been named, and I'll go into that a lot more, not based around Black History Month, because I don't want this video to be categorized within this month to just say I'm just talking about black development based upon spirituality because it's Black History Month. I want this to be about who I am. And this channel is about me and my development and the people I've seen or I've worked with that have kind of worked with me and kind of triggered me for me to kind of really understand what they're about and then what reflection on me. So there's a saying, when you point at someone, look how many fingers are pointing back at you. And so when you're accusing somebody or you're saying something about someone, think about you maybe you're talking about yourself or parts of you that you may not like. The other thing is as well is like when you're triggered by somebody, it affects you spiritually. It affects you personally, so that's your spirit. It gets unnerved. So when we do face that, what we need to be aware of is how do we deal with that? How do we, when we face racism in some way, when we face not getting a job because of the colour of our skin or the promotion because of the colour of our skin, or not being with the person that we wanted to be with because we're not accepted. It's about us really focusing on who we are and as a people, as a spiritual person. In some way, we can do this as a collective, as within a black community. But I want to try and speak and connect with an individual black people, that men and women and children, that this is your journey, your spiritual journey, and that spiritual journey is not just about you living this life. It's about your spiritual development, about when you're going to go on and transcend, and when you ascend back home, back to heaven, or return back to God. So the reality is, it's about you're in this life for a reason. You're in this life and you chose to be this color for a reason. And that's to learn certain skills. And as an individual, we are learning about what it's like. We're living with that fear, living with that fear that we may be pulled over, we may be accused about doing something and segregated, but we also have achieved great things. We have developed amazing inventions. We have led certain things through wars. We have empowered people. We have dominated music. We have dominated sport. There is so much that we forget that needs to be readdressed and refocused and really see what we've achieved. And because of that, and with that, we can start now to be spiritual leaders, because I think if we can really tap into ourselves on a spiritual level, when we are teaching the next generation that's coming up, then we will teach them about them and spirit, or their own spirit and their connection with spirit. And I think at the end of the day, Carnacarians, that there have been so many people that have just been living like with a law of attraction. They think about out there when it's about what's happening in here. So if we can develop what's in here, we can affect what's out there, but we are limited by who we are because of what society tells us what we can't achieve. And I say this for people that I work with. I said that just because someone told you can't do something, it doesn't mean that you cannot do it. When someone tells you that it's impossible for you to do it, it doesn't mean that you are not able to achieve it. That's that person's perception of your development, or what they see you, or what you are about. Only you can change that. And you can rise above the racism, the stigma, ignorance, the backbiting, the lies, and all these other stuff, which in reality is fear. And I love what Ramesses, a famous Egyptian, he was a pharaoh in Egypt, which is actually in Africa. And when I was talking to someone the other day, which is quite funny, and I said, I'm learning about my culture more, and I'm learning about Egypt and about Ramesses. And Tom said to me, and he goes, but your bloodline comes from Africa, right? I goes, yeah. But so what's Egypt got to do with it? I goes, Egypt's in Africa, don't you? No, it's in the Mediterranean. And I said, no, it's not. I goes, so I had to physically show them on the map. And it was really quite funny, because then they were like, I associate, they said, I associate Egypt with places like Greece, Italy, and all those places. I go, of course you will, because that's what you've been programmed with, But reality is, you've got the upper kingdom and lower kingdom. So you had the pharaohs who were in the upper kingdom, and you had the Nubians who were in the lower kingdom, and you had the Nubians, the king of the Nubians, and mixing. So it was all a part of the same banner, same country, but it was just different kingdoms. But they were still of black descent, So anyway, that's what. And for me, when I was looking at my journey, my spiritual journey, and as you know, that's why I called it Karnak, which is a temple of development and growth and transformation, and also achieving things that you thought you could never achieve. This is a community. Eventually, I'm going to build a community where everyone can network with each other and then be able to pulsate and vibrate within that energy and talk and interact with each other. So if one person is in one frame of mind and they kind of start, this other person can sense it and be able to work together to develop that, as I do with some of the people I work with now. So I'm going to stop there, and I just want to say, you know what? Look at Black History Month, which is in October, with empowerment. But I just want to say a big shout out to my mum, who's obviously passed on, and my dad. But one of the most important people for me that has given me that power, or that focus and that understanding and development on an inner ascension, with my mum coming over here, not very well educated, coming over to the UK in the late 50s and raising 5 children while my dad went out to work, and then making sure that we had the best that we can be and develop us and teach us morals and understanding. And I think a lot of the time people forget to look up, i.e. at the parents. And when life gets after me, that's what I do. So what I'm going to do is just going to end on there, and I just wanted to just say, enjoy this month. Look at it from a development point of view, and also about look at it as achievements of what Black people has achieved. And also to anyone who isn't Black and is learning about the Black culture, thank you. And communication and talking is the only way that we can change ignorance. And eventually it will burn out and die out once we start uniting and having conversations. Someone said that, we need the leaders. And I go, we don't really need leaders. We need role models in a way, but the consciousness is about the shift. The leaders have done the work already. Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, Nelson Mandela, and all the other people, Desmond Tutu, all these people who come before us, all the ones I haven't named that I will name later on, have done all the preparation already, have done the cake, now it's time for us to bake the cake and then enjoy the cake. And all the ones that have passed through before us in the days of slavery. So I want to say, stay blessed, stay safe, and namaste, and stay blessed through Black History Month, and keep shining. And I'll speak to you soon on my next video. Namaste.